From a series favorite that fans miss all too much, to a character who was wrongfully blamed for murder, here are all the missing characters who we most want to see return in Scream 7. Starting off with one of the best main characters from the first 3 movies, Sidney Prescott. As the main character and face of the first 3 movies, she's been through a lot of pain and success. Her fighting spirit is what drew fans close to her at the start of the franchise, so it's no secret that everyone wants her to come back. Now, as you know, Sidney's survivability and strength were tested in a whole lot of different ways, and while she had quite a lot to achieve, unfortunately for the character and the fans, the actress portraying her, Neve Campbell, didn't come back for Scream 6. Did that put a downer on fans? Of course it did. But here's the thing, the reason Campbell said she wouldn't come back was because of a pay disagreement. She's been vocal in her support of the new cast, and both Campbell and the new cast are open to Campbell coming back in the future. Sidney's shown many times that she's a fighter by learning self-defense, becoming a crisis counselor, and even writing a book about her life. Before the release of Scream 6, the last movie showed that Sidney stayed with her family, instead of going to New York to look for another killer. But Scream 5 showed that Sidney went back to Woodsboro because her friend Dewey had died. Now, there is a chance that Sidney could come back for Scream 7, but that's only possible if the risk is big and the stakes are personal. Now, Randy kept the meta aspect of the first 2 movies going by making people laugh, and often stood in for the audience by accusing other characters of murder and telling them what to do and what not to do. So when Randy died in a shocking way in the middle of Scream 2, it sort of seemed out of place. He was killed in a van during the day. But writer Kevin Williamson has said that he regrets killing Randy so soon. And if I'm being honest, he should too. Now, as far as bringing him back is concerned, most fans agree that they want to see Randy again. In fact, even actor Jamie Kennedy has said that he'd like to come back. Even though it seems unlikely that he will come back to life, 2 of the core 4 are connected to him. Plus, the whole idea doesn't even seem that far-fetched either, since the franchise has shown that dead people can be used as illusions, like Billy Loomis for Samantha Carpenter. Besides, having Meek's ghost self-return to warn about patterns in horror movies would be hilarious, by the way. Now, while I admit that Randy was special because he brought his own brand of humor to the movies, breaking the fourth wall and stuff, but this next character's got an unforgettable personality too. Cotton Weary. Now, Cotton's character has a sad sob story, because he was often wrongly blamed for killing Sidney's mother. But in Scream 2, he turned out to be a hero. Talk about a redemption arc. As you know, Cotton has been a less clear-cut moral figure than Sidney's close friends Gail and Dewey. He claimed that he wasn't Ghostface, even though he liked being in the news. But then he had an affair with Sidney's mother, and he ended up becoming the main suspect twice. He even shot and killed Ghostface in the second movie to prove his innocence, but that backfired.
Consider it done.
Talk about being excessive. Cotton's time as a hero was short-lived though, because he died in the first scene of Scream 3.
It was a simple game, Cotton. You should have told me where Sidney was. Now.
In the Scream movies, the obsession with and cost of fame have been criticized, and Cotton's a great example of the desire for fame. His possible return could fit with the theme of Scream, which is about being obsessed with fame. Even though he might not be alive anymore, the character could come back if the Core 4 watched an old episode of Cotton's show, 100% Cotton. Plus, I don't know about you guys, but that's something everyone would love to see again. Speaking of questionable characters with strong personalities, Here's another one that people grew attached to over time: Dewey Riley. At first, Dewey Riley seems to be a joke and a punching bag in the first 3 movies of the Scream series. In the first Scream, Dewey's wide-eyed wonder and tiny mustache were used as a joke about law enforcement. But after he survived several stabbings and near-fatal injuries in many movies, he became another fan favorite. Dewey's honest when he works as a detective, and he's shown himself to be a good friend to both Sidney and Gale too. Plus, he's pretty brave when he wants to be, or at least when his friends are in danger. However, in Scream 5, Dewey's daring cost him his life. As he got close to Ghostface, he was brutally stabbed to death. Dewey's death was more recent than that of other series regulars, so he could come back in a dream to comfort Sidney or joke with Gale one last time. At least we can hope. Moving on, this next character was just as complex as Dewey, but only in the darkest way possible. Stu Macher. His time in the series as one half of the first Ghostface duo was short, but it was still important. Stu could be both funny and stupid, or he could be crazy and scary. Unlike Billy Loomis, Stu didn't kill because he wanted to get even. Instead, he did it for fun and because he liked horror flicks. In Scream 5, Stu's reasons were taken into account, which makes Stu the perfect Ghostface. Even though Stu was only in one movie, his part has become more popular. Many people think he lived through the first movie, and an Easter egg in Scream 6 makes people wonder if he really died. Or was it just to throw everyone else off? Matthew Lillard has hinted before that he might come back to the series, so there's a possibility that we might see him on our screens soon too. Sure, Stu's return may seem unlikely to some, but it would be a full circle back to the murder that started it all. Obviously, the commentary in Scream isn't just about how horror movies are right now. It also criticizes all series. Characters and their story arcs are important parts of a long-lasting series, and that's why missing characters should be in Scream 7. It's hard to have recurring characters in horror movies, because part of the fun is seeing who will die. Scream's the only franchise that can take franchise tropes, make fun of them, and embrace them by bringing back old characters and recognizing their history. And Scream 7 can keep doing that. People may watch a new Ghostface mystery for the thrills and tension, but they stay to find out what happens to the core 4, Sidney Prescott, and maybe some other missing people along the way. That's all the missing characters who we most want to see return in Scream 7.